What's going on, everyone? Welcome into a Friday edition of GDT Live, presented by the Game Day Tarps podcast. My name's Daeden Colton. Alongside me, as always, Colton Davies. We've got a great show today. A couple of guests. First, Stefen Rosner, NHL.com. He's on the beat for the New York Islanders. He'll be joining us here in a few minutes. And then earlier, actually just about a half an hour ago, Colton and I wrapped up our chat with Sam Nestler of DLLS Sports, Dallas Sports, without the A's. Yes, sir. Colton, how you doing?
That was a great way to
well, that's what it is. It's Dallas Sports without the A's, man.
It is. No, I'm good. It's Friday. I'm good. We got a fun announcement at the end of the show for a guest we're having on Monday.
Yes.
That'll be cool. It kicks off a huge week for us next week. Actually, next week's probably our biggest week yet in GDT Live in terms of guests. I'm not going to spoil anything. I have already hinted at one of the guests who's coming on prior. So not going to spoil anything, but we'll tell you who's coming on Monday at least, so you at least have a think about your weekend and think about who's coming on Monday. I don't know what I was just trying to say there, but I want to talk about Canada Red versus Canada White at the U18s right now. Stephen Ellis of Daily Faceoff, friend of the show, has been tweeting about it. He's there. It's in Oakville right now. So it's right in his backyard. He's watching it. It's been, the U18 roster gets named today for the Holinka Gretzky. Wait, is it for the Holinka Gretzky? Yeah, it is. So the U18 roster gets named today for the Holinka Gretzky. Guys like Keaton Verhoff have looked solid throughout. Of course, UN with University of North Dakota now. He actually he fell down when he had a rush moment, fell down and ended up getting up and dangling three players. It was very impressive to watch. Stephen tweeted about that. And then Beckham Edwards of the Sarnia Sting has been lights out. Carson Carrolls of the Prince George Cougars.
Oh, there goes Colton's Wi-Fi bill, fellas.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
You're good now. Yeah, you're good. Keep it rolling.
Right. No, I just was going to say Tynan Lawrence as well has been lights out. We had his brother Josh on, so that was awesome. Hopefully going to have Tynan on soon. But yeah, U18s are wrapping up here. They're going to name the roster today, Steven tweeted. So that's about what I got on the agenda that I wanted to talk about. What do you make of the U18s in the World Junior Summer Showcase? Because Canada's playing Sweden right now.
Yeah, they are. First off, I want to say shout out to Tynan Lawrence. We had his brother on, so go check out that chat we had with Josh Lawrence. Definitely some great players down there at the Holinka, even though they're not up to speed yet at I shouldn't say up to speed. They're just not old enough to play at the U18s or the World Juniors. Still some great players. Landon DuPont at the Holinkas as well. Tynan Lawrence. All those kids are going to be great players no matter where they play internationally for Canada. And in the coming years, they'll be in the World Juniors, no doubt in my mind. For the World Juniors Summer Showcase game, like I mentioned yesterday, Sweden and Canada kind of had a little scuffle last year. I mentioned that it might be Ivar Stenberg. It was not Ivar Stenberg. He's 17, so it definitely was not him. It could have been Otto Stenberg. But yes. No, Ivar Stenberg's 17. He definitely was not there last year.
Oh, never mind. Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's Otto. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's probably Otto. But yes, that's always a great rivalry. The Canadians have always said internationally that they love to play the Swedes because, yes, DuPont is a stud. Yes, Randy. Yes. The Canadians have always said internationally that they love to play the Swedes because the Swedes can speak perfect English, and it's always a great rivalry. And on the ice, they're always talking. And I think now all the players can usually converse pretty well. Most players have pretty good English, but the Canadians and the Swedes have always had a pretty good rivalry because of the Swedes' ability to speak some pretty good English. So that game will be a good one today. Canada hoping to bounce back after their loss to the Finns. Atos Koivu kind of ran through the Canadian team, but I don't know. Maybe that's just what Koivus do. They're pretty good.
I mean, yeah, I think it's just all in the bloodline, right?
Yeah, it might be.
You think about what Saku and what Miko were able to accomplish throughout their careers, and now Atos is, climbing the ranks with Montreal. I think it's really cool to have another Koivu involved in the NHL.
Yeah, definitely. I talked about him yesterday. I pumped his tires quite a bit. I think it's just exactly what Montreal needs. It's a right-hand shot. He's a solid player. I'm not going to get too much into it. Listen to yesterday's episode if you really want to break down about Atos Koivu.
Yeah, Randy,
no problem, Randy.
Yeah, no problem, Randy. We'll actually get something up here at the end of the show, and we'll post about the blog and get some people to go read about it. But yeah, no problem helping you out with that. It was awesome, great stuff. We got Stefen Rosner backstage waiting for us, so why don't we get into this?
Sounds good.
Stefen, how's it going today?
What's up, guys? Thanks so much for having me. Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate having you on, man. Your work is awesome. I've seen you with the Sheet and with Morning Cup of Hockey. You do great stuff. It's awesome to have you on. What kind of let's go back to kind of what your start as a beat reporter. What kind of got you into covering the Islanders?
Yeah, so I grew up in Nassau County, probably 15 minutes away from Nassau Coliseum, where the Islanders played for a very long time, and my dad was a diehard Islander fan, so I quickly became a diehard fan myself. And, I just loved hockey. Played it, watched it, would miss family events to make sure I went to the game, whether it was by myself or, with a couple of friends. I was addicted. And when I decided where I wanted to go to school, I ended up going to SUNY Cortland in upstate New York. I know I wanted to do sports, wanted to do hockey, but had no idea outside of that. Sport management was the degree I chose. I did a minor in communications. Took one podcasting class, one writing class, and said, this is what I want to do. And then I just interned, probably like everyone else has done, writing for nothing, just trying to get my foot in the door. And then fortunately for me, a couple of places really allowed me to blossom, show what I had, and I was able to move up. And I've loved every minute of it. It's been awesome.
You're
sorry, Colton, go ahead.
No, I just was going to say, you're a jack of all trades. You do a bit of everything. It seems like you're all over the place. What kind of goes on throughout like a day? Can you kind of walk us through what goes on in a day of your busy life?
Yeah, the summer's for sleeping a little bit because during the season you're not going to. So for me, I'm an early riser. I'm up about 6 o'clock in the morning every day. I have my own Substack, so I make sure to get a story out between 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Usually they have practice around 10, so I have an hour to write some small piece in the morning, go to practice, do all the fun reporting, talk to players, anything important that comes from the room. I try to get that up as soon as possible, whether it's for the Hockey News, the Almonters, or for NHL.com. It's pretty much like one job, and I just put it in different spots. Get home from practice, write a column on whatever the most important thing was that I wasn't breaking news. And then if it's a game day, a couple hours at home to relax, get some food, go to the rink, and then you're at the rink, get home. And for me, I work late into the night because I want to make sure that everything's set for the morning, where when I wake up, all I got to do is just proofread, because we've all been there, those late nights. You think you wrote something really good at 1 o'clock in the morning, you get up and you're thinking, what is this garbage? You got to rewrite it. But yeah, so it is I want to say it's a marathon, not a sprint, but pretty much every day is a sprint, because anyone in this field knows, obviously it's more important to get stuff right than first, but if you could do both, that's a win-win. So I'm trying to always stay on top of things. It's very hard for me to close a laptop, something I'm really working hard on, especially in the summer where I don't need to be. But yeah, listen, people, it's a cliche that, if you do something you love, you're not really working. And for me, I don't take it for granted, the opportunity that I have here to for a childhood team that I grew up watching, idolizing, cold turkey, the fandom, but it's different now. You appreciate these guys because you see them hard work every day. You get to know a lot of these guys, minor leagues, NHL, alumni, broadcasting, it's a really cool experience. I don't take any day for granted. So all the hard work, the late nights, I love every second of it.
Stefen, when you walk around the city on a game day, what's the vibe kind of like?
Yeah, so where UBS Arena is, it's in Belmont Park in Elmont area. So I'm not usually walking too much around there, but listen, with the way the Islanders have done it, they have a new park outside UBS Arena. It's called the Park. They have twin rinks out there. A lot of fans go there before games, but just walking from the parking lot to there, you catch up with some people, you run into some people. But the coolest thing about, Long Island hockey, whether it was Coliseum or UBS, so you can walk around the concourse and you'll probably run into 20 to 30 people that whether it's high school, college, even because people in upstate New York that went to school upstate, a lot of them from Long Island, just fans you've met along the way. So it's a family atmosphere in the sense of the Islanders are this blue collared fan base, right? So a lot of the people, you just see all the same people all the time. And it's this cool little family that I don't think every fan base has. Like, the New York Rangers, really corporate. They have diehard fans, don't get me wrong, but it's really, really corporate. So the Islanders are more, family oriented, where the Mets and baseball and things like that.
You get to see a lot of the same fans all the time, but you as a beat reporter get to see a lot of the same players and management all the time. What's it like kind of building a relationship with the team, but also kind of staying on the same line as a reporter?
Right. And I think that's, for me, I don't know how a lot of people do it, but I decided to cold turkey the fandom right when I got my first opportunity to write for a credentialed site. I wasn't credentialed yet, but I thought, you know what? I could do it, be a fan guy and go that route. And there's some people like Johnny Lazarus does a fantastic job with that. Diehard Ranger fan, doesn't hide it. For me, I want to do the reporting side. I want to be that person that you could trust with information, things like that. But getting to talk with players, that's the coolest experience. It's the stuff that we don't write about. It's just, seeing the guys every day, small talking about their families, not talking hockey. And then with, I'm very fortunate where Patrick was the head coach, really awesome guy. Very analytically driven. Matthew Darch, getting to know him and talk on the phone with him and just introduce myself. That's been really cool. So I think the cool part is not taking it for granted because these are professional athletes. We all grew up wanting to be these guys, right? But you have to remember too, and the coolest thing I've learned is that these are people. A lot of fans, and I understand it. I was there once before. Pass it, shoot it. Like, you're yelling at these guys like they have to be focused on their job. That's all they are. And then, I'm fortunate, and other people in this industry are fortunate to see, okay, this guy, Matthew Barzal, he plays the guitar. He's a huge golfer. The things that he loves to do outside of hockey. But getting to know these guys where they're referring to you by your last name, that's probably the coolest thing where you build those connections.
What's been like a fun or hectic moment that you've covered and been a part of?
Ooh, fun or hectic? Yeah, there's a lot. The Islanders under Lou was pretty, straightforward. There wasn't anything crazy. Oh, but Barzal, this is an interesting one. Before he signed his contract, it was preseason game before you're about to head to Philly. So in the preseason, you don't have to stay over the night before. We're in the NHL regular season. You have to. So we're all packing up and getting ready to walk to our car. And the Islanders announced the Barzal extension. Had we left 20 or 30 minutes earlier, none of us are getting to talk to Barzal at the rink. We've all would have missed it. So yeah, that's probably the craziest thing that happened under Lou. Hopefully nothing crazy happens. There's been times on the road where you get aboard a flight and news breaks, or you're in the plane trying to type something up and there's no Wi-Fi. I think that's the scariest for all of us, is that we're in a spot where there's no Wi-Fi. I think that's the most nerve-wracking thing of all time.
Oh, that makes sense though. What is hockey like in Long Island? Like, I'm out west. I'm in Kamloops, near Vancouver. But it's here it's very blue collar as well. There, it's you alluded to the same community, same fans. It's a lot like that here. But hockey in Long Island, what's it been like over the last 25 years? Kind of like, how has it evolved?
Yeah, for sure. I think it helps when you have some NHLers. Recently, obviously, James Hagan and all the hype surrounding there, but there were guys well before him, the Sonny Milanos, the Charlie McAvoy, other guys prior. I think for hockey on Long Island, I think hockey everywhere, it's a really expensive sport. But there are a ton of rinks. You grow up playing, the best part of our childhood is playing in the street. A bunch of my friends, 10, 20 of us, just every week we'd get together, play in the streets. We had some rec leagues as well, but yeah, I think Long Island hockey, you just think of, there's talent here, but also it's accessible, whether it's deck hockey, ice hockey. Deck hockey is floor hockey, no skates. Roller hockey, which I've played now and grew up playing before. There's always ways to just play hockey. Now, again, money's a thing, and ice hockey is expensive, and I can't imagine having a kid right now and putting them in programs, because it just seems like a lot. I think that's one thing the sport could really work on, is just finding ways to make it cheaper, or just not pushing the narrative that every kid needs the newest pair of skates that they're going to go out of in 3 months. I think that's, I'm a goalie, and my dad, I didn't buy brand new equipment until I went and played just club in college. I was at Played Against Sports. It's a local place out here where people just sell back their used equipment and people buy it at a cheaper count. And I think, I live there. So hopefully more parents do that and save some money. But yeah, there's hockey everywhere. And again, the fan bases with the Rangers and Islanders, you can include the Devils in there. it's just so passionate. So from a young age, a lot of the kids are ready to go, ready to fight each other over which team's better and things like that. But it's a great dynamic on Long Island for sure. And I think it's always going to keep growing. The more players that get to NHL, like Hagen's the next superstar to come from Long Island, but in a couple of years, there's going to be another one. And I think that's the coolest part, is seeing who's coming next.
Yeah, and speaking of who's coming next, obviously Matthew Schaefer, the first overall pick. You've talked a lot about him already, but what can you kind of say about Schaefer's development plan? Is there a plan for him to maybe go to the NCAA, or is it more like he's likely going to go play his 9 games in the NHL and go back to Erie?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing right now is, now that he's healthy and able to play, I know he played 1 game at the showcase, but he needs a nutritionist, and he's getting one because he has to just put on muscle. This is a guy where, if you want to hit him, you have to catch him, and his edge work is phenomenal. His skating, he skates better than people walk, but that's the big question, is at 17 years old, soon to be 18, what's going to happen when he gets hit? I think that's the question for a lot of these young guys who, especially in juniors, aren't playing against adults, where guys in college, maybe a year or two, they're playing against 22, 23, 24. Now, if it was me, I would tell him to go the NCAA route. I was trying to nudge him and ask him some questions. If any colleges had reached out, had he thought about college? He really didn't want to answer that because his goal is to make the Islanders, and you credit that and commend that. I think he's going to get the 9 games. I think if he doesn't go the college route, I think he has the skills to make this team. The question is, how does Isaiah George, who he's probably going to fight with for that final left side spot, how is he going to look? Because he has the NHL experience. If they think Schaefer is ready, but hey, we just want him to play as many games as humanly possible, you give him the 9 games, he goes back to juniors, and by the end of the season, if it lines up where the Islanders are maybe going to the playoffs and they could call him up, great. But I think after those 9 games, they're going to 100% know what the right call is. And the fact that he doesn't go the NCAA route, because I think there is a loophole actually, where as long as you don't sign up for classes, you could still go to camps and things like that, and you could just sign in October or November, as long as you're not missing any classes. However, that being said, rosters are going to be filled in college, NIL money, whatever the case may be. There might not be a spot for him. So I think if he's going to go the college route, it would have happened already. I think he has a chance to really make this team. We'll see after 9 games. But yeah, they can't rush this guy. They can't mess him up. And if they think, listen, we just want you to keep working hard and playing as many games as possible, he'll go back to juniors and finish out the year. But yeah, I think there's a strong chance he does make this club for sure.
Stefen, I want to talk about those 2 first-round picks that the Islanders acquired from Montreal, obviously in exchange for Noah Dobson. What do you make of all that? Obviously, Dobson's a big loss for the Isles.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not saying that the Islanders had to trade Dobson if they were drafting Schaefer. How it does lessen the blow. And I think it came up probably in negotiations where, Dobson had a line Dobson had a number he wanted. The rumors were out there. It was 11. I could tell you it never hit 11. I think it was somewhere around 10. Islanders wanted him in the low 9s. He wanted high 10s to stay there. Obviously, he took less to be with Montreal. So we know he didn't ask for a trade, but he kind of wanted out. I think for the Islanders, Matthew Darch, he had a line and said, listen, you want this number. We're good with you at this number. We want to keep you. But hey, if you don't want to help, work with us on a deal, we have Schaefer, who's going to be the number 1 power play quarterback that unfortunately you aren't able to become. He's going to be cheaper. He plays on the left side, so we'll have to find a right side. But, we don't need you, I think, as much as everyone makes it seem like the Islanders need the guy. Now, listen, Noah Dobson if he could be a 70-point guy, is great. The problem is he struggles to play defense. And the Islanders had a hard time finding a suitable partner. And again, I think they would have had him back at 9.5. I think if he was willing to do that, he'd be an Islander. It's clear as day he didn't want to be on the island for whatever reasons. I know there's rumors about relationships with Patrick Waugh. Whatever the case may be, they had to get rid of him and try to get back as much as possible. There was a deal in place with Columbus. There's a deal in place with a couple of teams, but, he needed to agree to a contract extension, which meant not having any kind of trade protection didn't matter because he got to dictate where he wanted to go. So it didn't work out in Columbus. Some other teams finally on Montreal. So the Islanders get back 2 first-round picks. And I'll be honest, complete luck that Eklund and Aitchison were still there. Some prospect rankings had all 3 in the top 10. Now, again, I don't know if Aitchison's the top 10 guy, maybe Eklund. Obviously, they both fell for reasons. It wasn't just every team said, not every team was wrong. Maybe there was something there. However, and you could also look at size, like Frundell going. I mean, everyone was looking at size in this draft. But this guy, Eklund, he's going to go play in Drew Gardens over there in the SHL. They got promoted after winning the championship. It's a huge year for him against, the best that league has to offer. And then maybe next year he comes over and joins Bridgeport if there's a spot on the Islanders roster. They sent him to his ELC, so they didn't have to worry at all. His edge work is phenomenal. Sneaky shot. He actually gets hurt so much because he tries so hard. That's something Darch said after the draft. But I think you want that tenacity. I think that's the kind of what Darch is trying to build on the island. And you have Aitchison, and everyone who asked me, what is he like? he's Alexander Romanov just from North America. Vicious hits, but also not to throw Romanov under the bus at all in his offensive game, but this guy Aitchison scored 26 goals last year for Barrie. This guy knows how to score, and he had a stretch pass the other day in the World Junior Showcase game. I know he got hurt. He's okay, but yeah, Aitchison's probably a couple years away from being a complete, hey, can he make this team? I think he's got to work on his skating. I think for him, NCAA route makes the most sense. He's already a physical guy, showed he could score, be that, I don't think he's a two-way defender. I really do think he's more of a defensive guy that has, offensive potential in juniors. We'll see if that could translate. But for me, put that guy in college. Let him, you want to start crushing the best players at a different age. Because that's the other thing too is, he has to work on his skating with timing hits. But like we mentioned with Schaefer, can he take a hit? Can Aitchison's skating be good enough to hit people, to line them up, time it right, things like that, recover from missed hits. So I would love to see Aitchison at the college level. But I think all three guys the Islanders got, again, luck really played a huge part in this, and we'll see how they develop. But yeah, I think it was a slam dunk first round for the Islanders, and that cap space they had with trading Dobson, they were able to shore up some of the offensive holes that they desperately needed to be more competitive. I don't think they're a Stanley Cup contender, but there's no question this team should be a wild card team, if not third in the Metro, if things go right and people stay healthy.
Now, what about Daniil Prokhorov? Have you seen much of him?
So yeah, he was at development camp. Didn't know much about him. I know his English wasn't really great. I think he spoke through his agent. Funny enough, I don't know if you guys saw, but at the draft, him and his agent were the only ones there because it was his brother's wedding. Now I don't want to knock on the brother for scheduling his wedding around the NHL draft, but that was the case. It was just his agent and himself at the draft. But I didn't realize how good his hands were for such a big guy. I mean, this is a big guy that can move, power forward type guy, and he could hit. He's got soft hands, and he was already a fan favorite starting Let's Go Islander chance at their blue and white scrimmage. Seemed like a player. I know he went in the fourth round of the import draft. I know he plays over in Russia in a couple of tiers lower than the KHL. So it's interesting to see if he decides to come over like Jesse Nurmi did last year. He played for London before joining, being Bridgeport this year. So it's interesting to see development-wise. I think he probably should stay in Russia. Again, playing against, Russians are built different. I think if you're a physical guy like that, that might benefit you more than coming over and playing more of a skilled game. But he's exciting because if you're that big and you can skate, you probably have a chance to make it. And I'm not going to say he's a sure fit NHLer, but the Islanders have a Russian base they've already built here. So the more Russians, the better, it seems like.
That's interesting. I still can't get it through my head that the brother planned his wedding around the NHL draft thing. Like, if I'm Prokhorov, I'm telling my brother, like, what the heck, man?
Right. And it was funny. It was a funny story to come out of the draft. But yeah, the kid, it seems hungry. He seems really funny, which is always good. And yeah, he's got to work on his English, but I'm sure if he finds a way to crack the roster, he'll figure that part out.
Another player that is kind of coming through the ranks of Islanders is Callum Ritty. What do you think the opportunity would be for him this season?
Yeah, I think the Islanders deciding not to trade Jean-Gabriel Pageau when there was countless teams interested tells you kind of how they think about Ritchie in the sense if they really thought Ritchie was 125% ready, they probably look to move Pageau if the market was right. Now, Darch is not an idiot, and he knows that come the deadline, there's probably going to be better offers than there were at the draft. That being said, I think Ritchie's going to have every chance to make this team. I think he's NHL ready. I saw him at development camp. I caught some of his OHL games. He's physically mature enough, and he seems to be light years ahead in a lot of categories. And he has, 7 games of NHL experience under his belt before he was sent back when he was with the Avalanche, scoring his only NHL goal against the Islanders. So I think he's going to push, and maybe there's a chance he starts the season at wing. I don't think he'll be an extra forward just because he might as well go in Bridgeport, play for Rocky Thompson, and play the best he possibly can to be that first call up. But yeah, I think he's going to have every chance to make this team. I wouldn't be shocked if he does. And if he does make the team, the Islanders definitely have harder decisions to make just for a roster spot, but also playing time. Because for me, I think he's a center. I wouldn't put him at wing. However, the Islanders moving Barzal back to center, having Pageau, having Cizikas, there's no real spot for him. So if they wanted to be an NHL factor this year, it might be at the wing. Maybe they put Pageau at the wing to take faceoffs with Barzal. There's a lot of different configurations, but it's a good problem to have where the Islanders have so many options for those depth positions that Ritchie, for sure, if he plays the way he's capable of playing, he's already made an NHL team once before. He should be able to do it again.
Stefen, what are your thoughts on Jonathan Drouin making his way over to Long Island? Because obviously it didn't work out in Tampa. He struggled a little bit in Montreal. He just left his Moosehead counterpart that everyone thought that was gonna be amazing this season. Obviously, it wasn't. Now he's in Long Island. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think it was a move that shocked a lot of us, but when you peel back the curtain a little bit, it shouldn't be a shock. He played for Bennett, who's the Islanders' new power play coach. We found out that his best friend's Anthony Duclair, and that's another can of worms we could open up in a little bit just with how last year unfolded. But yeah, he's excited. And I think for the Islanders, they keep missing out on getting that elite forward every Stanley Cup contender needs. You need it. Maybe Cole Eisman becomes that for the Islanders. Maybe that's what they're banking on. That's why Dart signed all these guys to shorter term deals, because they have a prospect pool they're proud of and they need the openings. But for Druin, he's going to help this power play. To be honest, anything would have helped this power play. Second to last in the NHL, really struggled. It's one of the biggest reasons they didn't make the playoffs last year. But Druin's a pass first guy, and we were told by Matthew Darch and Patrick Waugh that he's going to play with Bo Horvat. And that's interesting in the sense of, they're separating Barzal. Maybe we got to see what the other winger will be for Horvat, but Druin is a playmaker. He's going to feed Horvat the puck. If Horvat's ready to shoot, he's going to score a ton of goals. And that's the hope. I mean, the hope last year was that Duclair, Horvat, and Barzal would be a dynamic top line for the Islanders, probably their most dynamic top line they've had in quite some time. And after game 5, Duclair's out for a long time. And after game 10, Barzal was out. So it didn't work out. But yeah, the Islanders hope that at 5-on-5, Druin's speed and skill will mesh with Bo Horvat. And on the power play, probably the top power play unit, he'll be a key factor in helping them get out of the basement when it comes to that, because the Islanders are fine 5-on-5. They know how to produce, and with goaltending like Sorokin and hopefully maybe shore up the defense, and just Schaefer being there probably plays a huge part if he makes it, that they just need to find a way to come through on special teams. I think Druin's really going to help with the power play. And I just think his comfortability with Bennett as the power play coach and the offensive guy, that should really help him get acclimated. And of course, Duclair.
Definitely, Stefen. Now, another guy I wanted to touch on was Emil Heineman. He's kind of an underrated player. He came over from Montreal. What are your thoughts on him?
So I'm going to take what Dart said. I'll be honest, haven't watched a ton of Emil Heineman hockey, and obviously he got hit by a car last year, which really derailed his first full season. But Matthew Dart said that this was a player that was kind of had to be a must in the Montreal deal. He really wanted him back. This is a guy that has a wicked shot, physical guy. He's probably going to be the Cal Clutterbuck fourth line player the Islanders haven't had since Kyle Clutterbuck left, where he's going to be physical, has that shot, and has that speed. And he gets him on a 2-year deal, which again, nice, which is what Matthew Darch has been trying to do with these short-term contracts. But yeah, I think he's going to help. He's going to be fighting for a roster spot with some other guys, which should only push him to be the best he possibly can. But he's an exciting guy. I think they believe he has potential to be a 20-goal scorer. And that depends on his role, where he's playing, if he gets on a power play, which I doubted, things like that, how many minutes he's playing. But for the Islanders, he's just a really strong young depth piece. For the longest time, the Islanders' fourth line was veteran, and nothing wrong with that. It was just a different style where physical, not offensively driven at all, shut down the opponent's best, and that was that. But in today's NHL, you're seeing you need speed and skill on all 4 lines. You need to have offense coming from all 4 lines, especially in the playoffs. And Heineman's a guy they think could really help them now and going forward, be that kind of, okay, against the third pairing defenseman or whatever, get a fast break and score a goal. I think that's their hope. And I think if Emil Heineman's healthy, he should be able to produce on both sides of the puck for them.
Now, a couple of Maxims down in the bottom end of the lineup, Shabanov and Siplikov. What are your thoughts on those two guys?
Yeah, so Siplikov, we'll start with him. Coming over from the KHL last year, he was known as a goal scorer. And we thought, okay, perfect. The Islanders need that. That'll be great. And it turns out that while he might be a goal scorer, he was playmaking. That was kind of his thing. He's a very smart player where he doesn't have maybe the fastest feet. He knows how to slow the game down, but quickly with fast passes, make stretch passes across the ice in the neutral zone, power forward, cutting to net. We just saw too many turnovers, which led to too many penalty minutes, which led to playing time. I think not that Patrick Waugh lost complete trust in him, but I think there were times last year where Waugh felt if he put him on the ice, then maybe things weren't going to go the way they needed to go to get a win or tie a game or whatever that may be. So I think this year going in, you have to give Siplikov a sec to catch his breath. It was his first year in the NHL, learning a whole new type of lifestyle, game, everything like that, where the NHL's game probably actually fits his game more because he's physical and is a big body guy. But he just needs to focus on, make the right play. Maybe don't force too many things. We talked to him about it. He said he's always going to try to make the best play he can. But I think at times, make that safer play. He'll get more minutes. And when he gets a chance to score, he's got to bury. He didn't get used that much on the power play that I thought he would be. But, he's back on a 2-year deal, and he'll be a factor fighting for a spot as well. But I think he'll win it on the fourth line. We just talked about it, where you have Siplikov, Cizikas, Heineman. you're going from Matt Martin, Cizikas, Gakkom, or Clutterbuck a couple years ago. It's such a different makeup, but it's a much needed makeover, if that makes sense with how they play. And then Shabanov, low risk, low reward, low risk, high reward, like Siplikov was. This is a guy that, unlike Siplikov, this guy has gotten better and better and better. And every year he's played in the KHL. He's a highlight reel machine. And you wonder, well, if he plays with a guy like Matthew Barzal, how is that going to look? Should he even play with a guy like Matthew Barzal? But the one thing that Patrick Waugh said, which we didn't know because all the highlight reels show the goals, is that he's very, very smart in his own zone. He cares about playing the defensive kind of hockey, where you look at a guy like, you guys remember Ruslan Ishakov, who's with the Islanders a couple of years ago, human highlight reel shootout machine, but he wasn't good away from the puck. And he's in the KHL now because he couldn't make it. He got one game in the NHL or a couple of games in the NHL, and it just wasn't that. So I think for Shabanov, the fact that he plays so well defensively, he'll have to prove it to Patrick Waugh to get minutes, but this is a guy that's going to have every opportunity to play a middle six, bottom six role, and you got to hope that his speed and skill, and he'll be on the power play as well. So yeah, I think both of these guys bring different things, but much needed things for this Islanders team. Siplikov in year 2, hoping to be more of that goal scorer, and Shabanov in year 1, that even if things don't happen as easily as they did in the KHL, that he's still producing and also just being responsible.
What is the prediction for the season? What needs to go right for the Islanders this year?
Yeah, well, Ilya Sorokin needs to be on top of his game. And I'm not saying he hasn't been, but the way he's played, jumbled with the way the Islanders have played, he hasn't been good enough. I'm not going to put all the blame on him, but I think if the Islanders are going to make the playoffs, Sorokin's going to have to be that guy. He has to be he is their, if you look at superstars on the team, he's probably their only quote unquote superstar. Matthew Barzal, star. But Ilya Sorokin, when he's at the top of his game, is a top 2, top 3 goalie in this league. And if you have goaltending like that, you should make the playoffs. I think having the offensive depth that they have, they've always had forward depth, but not offensive talent to where all 4 lines can score. I think the Islanders are going to be a more consistent hockey team in terms of offense production, more consistent on the back end. We'll see special teams, but I think, the Islanders hockey is always about ups and downs. I feel like every team goes through them, but when it's bad for the Islanders, it's bad. And when it's good, they're on these winning streaks, and you just can never tell what this Islanders team is. I think this year, while there still might be some highs and lows and injuries, I think the way they play for the first couple of months of the season is how they're going to play to end it. You're going to know what this team is, what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are. And if they make the wild card team, it's not going to be a wild card spot. It's not going to be because they go 8-0-2 over their last 10 games to sneak in. Like, they're going to be a wild card team or a third in the Metro, whatever it is, or they're not going to be a playoff team. I don't think it's going to fluctuate as much as it's been over the last couple of years, which I think is a good thing, because if you're establishing an identity, you don't want to try to play a game you're not. I think for the Islanders last couple of years, you knew their identity with the identity line. It was like, they're going to suffocate you. They're going to forward check hard. And then last year, in the last couple of years, you're thinking, well, they're an offensive team. Are they a defensive team? Are they a fast team? Are they a old team? What are the New York Islanders? And I think now under Darch, he wants to play a fast, physical brand of hockey, forward checking. Like every team, they want to mimic kind of the Florida Panthers. But I think the Islanders, the way they're building things, they're going to play the way that their team is made up to play, and not try to be something they're not. And if that's a playoff team, great. If it's not, they have prospects coming. They're going to add to that kind of mentality and the way they want to play. And I think Darch, the way he's handled the offseason, and the buy-in from a guy like Matthew Barzal the other day, which is absolutely huge. The buy-in from the captain, Anders Lee, players wanting to stay, some players leaving that didn't want to be part of that. Like we talk about Noah Dobson. I'm not going to say that the Islanders, don't love Dobson's game. I think they do, but is he the physical guy that could play that offensive game where he's going to be hard in front of goal and shut? No, he's not that guy. He didn't really fit the mold Darch is building. So Darch moved on. So I think, Darch has set the Islanders up to have an identity that they haven't had in quite some time, an identity that you kind of need to be a good NHL team, consistent NHL team these days.
Stefen, as we kind of wind down here, we ask everybody this question. What is your favorite New York Islanders jersey?
Okay, so mine was, I want to say it was 06, 07 alternate. It was orange with blue stripes down like the side. That was my favorite growing up. I don't think they wore them for maybe 1 or 2 years. I remember playing with it in the old video game, but that was my favorite for sure. Bring the orange back. I think it would be next for the Islanders. They tried the Fisherman, and that was a little before my time. They brought it back for the stadium. Not the Stadium Series, but a couple years before that. Fans loved them. Older fans did not. But I think it's time to bring those orange and the blue stripe back. I love those.
Yeah, exactly what you said, Stefen. You used to play with them in the old NHL video games, and that's exactly what came to mind. The orange jerseys, I knew exactly what you meant. Yeah,
those were great. It was not a great time for the Islanders. My childhood, pretty much from The start of my fandom till probably end of high school or like beginning of high school was where they were bad. It was bad, but you're addicted, right? You're going to watch. I remember skipping family events to watch them in a March where they're not making the playoffs because I just needed to watch it. So you guys know it though. When you get addicted to these things, sports, I mean, we love sports for all different reasons. For me now, it's, I can't escape it. This is the career I chose. So I'm kind of stuck, but nothing's better than getting to sit down and just watch your favorite sport team and escape reality for a little bit, whether they win or lose. Maybe you'll get pissed for the next week and a half because they lost to the Rangers. I mean, my whole life, middle school, high school, is you don't want to come to school if the Islanders lost to the Rangers. However, if the Islanders did beat the Rangers, you're wearing your jersey to school, you're looking over the Ranger fans' direction, they're hiding and they don't want to talk to you. So it was always cool with that, especially on Long Island where, again, hockey, you have a lot of Ranger fans on Long Island, even though they're in the city.
Do you bug Laz all the time or anytime the Islanders play the Rangers?
Not really. Again, he's more of the emotional guy. I've kind of cut that out completely. If the Islanders, for me, I root for myself, right? If they're in a game and they're losing by 1 goal and I have my NHL.com story ready, lose. My job's done. Like just lose. Of course, I'd rather them win because the room's better quotes and things like that. But for Laz, yeah, I'm always on Laz for something. But he's a great guy. He's so emotional, but he's so smart too. And he plays the game. He played the game in college. Like he understands, but some of his takes are asinine, but that's part of being a media guy in today's podcasting media world. And then Kobe Cohen always stuffs him in the corner and makes sure he knows when he's wrong. So it's a great dynamic, but yeah, Laz is one of my good friends.
That's awesome. Favorite non-Islanders jersey?
Favorite non-Islanders jersey? I really like the Canadiens jerseys. I've always liked those. I like the Detroit Red Wings ones, the ones they wore in the Stadium series with the D. The cleanest jersey. I love jerseys. I'm just a big fan of like the Minnesota Wild red ones. I liked a lot more than the green, but red's my favorite color, so I go with that. But yeah, I like a lot of them. I thought I like the Seattle Kraken right off the bat too with the red eye. I'm trying to think of other ones now. I'm blanking on like every jersey. Chicago's always had a clean look. Their Chicago Reds, I think, are up there as well. The Boston Whites. I'm a big fan of the Whites. I think they should wear white at home and let the other teams bring in their colors. I just think the white, it looks the cleanest on TV and in person. But that's my hot take for this.
That's awesome. Hey, Stefen, thanks so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to chat with you.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Yeah, take care, Stefen. Well, Colton, a great episode with Stefen Rosner from the NHL.com. We've got a chat with Sam Nestler pre-recorded. We were able to talk with Sam earlier today, like I said, from Dallas Sports, DLLS Sports without the A's. Why don't we pop that up and you want to get into that?
Yeah, let's do it. Welcome, everyone, to GDT Live. And today we've got Sam Nestler aboard with us. Sam, of course, used to work with me over at Daily Faceoff. He's now with Dallas Sports, covering the Dallas Stars. Sam, thanks so much for joining us today. How are things going?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me. Everything's good. It's not triple digits in weather here, so that's the first in about 10 days. So we are happy to have a cooler weekend. They call it a cold front here when it hits mid-90s. But how are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Let's get into the Stars draft class, because I think that one is a bit interesting because they drafted a guy in Cameron Schmidt who is a lot like that guy right there. Smaller, undersized, but still kind of fell through the ranks and ended up being picked up by the Stars. What do you make of that selection with Cameron Schmidt?
Yeah, first thing that comes to mind is skill. And obviously the comparisons were drawn to Stankoven immediately as soon as you watch the way he plays. He's just not just the skill and size, obviously, but he has that grit. He has that little bit of dog in him. He goes hard to the net. He goes hard into the corners. But when I saw him at development camp, that guy is a good hockey player. Man, he's fast. His acceleration off the wall is crazy quick. And the team looks at him very similar to Logan. They look at him with potential of being a guy that can make this roster in maybe 2-3 years, like kind of like Logan did, play a little AHL here and there. The big one is, can he overcome the size? But he loves Logan Stankoven. I think he mentioned guys like Martin St. Louis, Cole Caulfield, the players that we know that are similar stature and play a similar style. He said he just grew up loving and idolizing those guys. So he has the right head on his shoulders, and I'll tell you, he stood out at development camp as probably the best skater out there with those guys. And he's got the confidence, and that's the biggest thing, right? Like, you can make it as a short player in the NHL, but you have to be confident that you can, because otherwise you're going to get pushed around and you're going to let that stuff get into your head. He's not like that. And the Rich Peverly is a big in development down here with the Stars. He talks about it as someone they believe can be a top 6, top 9 guy eventually in the league. And I was blown away by him the first time seeing him in person.
He's electric to watch. Like, I've seen him a few times coming through Kamloops with the Vancouver Giants, and his skating is unreal. Like you just alluded to, like watching his edge work and watching him just blow past defenders and just get around people is incredible stuff. It reminded me a lot of Stankoven, even before he was picked up by Dallas. Another player that was drafted, a goaltender in Mans Goose, which is a heck of a name. I just love that. What do you make of that? Because Dallas doesn't have a lot of goalies in their pipeline, but what does a guy like a Goose kind of bring?
First of all, he brings the name, as you mentioned, and the Stars they now have the Moose, they have the Goose, they have the Otter. They're starting to build their own little farm down here. But he is a giant. First of all, I don't know his exact height, but when I first saw him at development camp, he is a towering human being. Obviously, Jake Ottinger is as well. They got guys like Leon Bischel, so they got some big players down here. But as you mentioned, that was the key, is they don't have a lot of goalies. You know, they have Remy Poirier looked pretty good in the AHL last year. They have a couple of guys that have looked good, but then kind of taken a step back. I think for them, I was honestly surprised they didn't take 2 goalies just to get, once you get that deep in the draft, it wasn't the deepest draft. You're kind of just throwing darts at the board anyway. But they need goalies. They not only need goalies, they just need players, right? Like they have traded away so many picks, so many prospects, and the prospects they didn't trade away are now NHL players taking up half of their core. So I think for them to get someone like that, he's a big, strong goalie, and he plays his position really well. Obviously, not a ton on him yet, being a younger guy. But he told me, funny story. I asked him after development camp. He said he didn't even know he was drafted because he was getting a soda in his fridge with his family. And all of a sudden he started hearing cheers from the kitchen or the room, and he started running in there, and they were like, "You got drafted to Dallas." So he's a really funny guy right off the hop, and he fit in very well. But as you mentioned, just getting goalies, get some bodies, because eventually, Jake Ottinger is going to start getting old. I know it's weird to think that at right now, but you have to start preparing for the future, as we've seen that all of a sudden a goalie especially can just not be his self anymore. And they did a good job starting that right now.
You alluded to some prospects that are already coming up too, and a guy that I really like is Emil Hemming. What kind of role do you think Hemming could have? I know he probably doesn't make the team this year, but in the future, where do you kind of see him solidifying himself in the Stars lineup?
He's their highest ceiling prospect right now, for sure. First round pick. He's a Finn, so they already love him down here in the Finnish Mafia. But he's such a skilled player. He's surprised a lot of people. I'll say that. I know that they knew that he had skill, but they didn't know that he would stand out so much in the professional leagues that he's played in so far. This is, as you mentioned, he's not going to be on Dallas this year. Should be in the AHL. It's a big year for him. They lost Justin Ritzkovian. Will probably be, if not a fringe player, an NHL player this year for Dallas. He was the AHL Rookie of the Year last year. So they need bodies down there too. And they have some big holes to fill with Matej Blumel moving on to Boston, I believe, and just not having the necessary skill there. So Hemming's going to have a huge chance to go down there and play a lot of minutes, right? Play power play, play top line, get a lot of chances to prove what he is. But he's like those Finns. He works hard. He plays the right way. Soon enough, this is just going to be the Finnish national team here in Dallas. But I love him as a player in terms of skill. I think he has, like I said, the highest ceiling, right? They believe he's a top 6 guy eventually. It just depends on getting to that next step and when it's going to be. Is it going to be something he blows the AHL out of the water and next year he's a guy, or are they still 2-3 years away from seeing that? That's to be told.
Sam, a guy that I noted that the Dallas Stars drafted in the 6th round, Dawson Sharkey. He came from the Q, and the Q is known to be a high-scoring league where players aren't really as developed as they should be coming out of junior. Do you think Sharkey is more of an AHL kind of ceiling player?
Yes, I will say the chance he has to make it eventually is that I forget who it was. I think it was the director of scouting here. They called him a real pain in the ass. They said he is just someone who he just gets under your skin. He's always right there in your face, and I think that's his edge, right? You in terms of skill, you mentioned it. He's probably an AHL guy, but you never know with those type of players that just find a way to be the Tom Wilson type of mentalities that just annoy the crap out of people and give themselves a chance to make a role. But it's funny you mentioned it because that's another name. I forgot the nickname. They got a shark as well. So it's just they're just racking them up here for us to write about, which is really fun. But in terms of skill, you mentioned it. He's got stuff to prove to see what he has in front of him. But as I just mentioned, this is a very good Texas Stars team, and they are right now looking for some people to fill their holes over the next 2 or 3 years here with their basically depleted draft class and prospects. So I think that he, along with everyone else that gets drafted, has a real shot to show what they can do with maybe a little more of an elevated role than they would get elsewhere.
I just wanted to look ahead to the 2025-2026 season, but look at the offseason stuff because trading Mason Marchment, that's a big move. What did you make of that? Because did it shock you?
I wouldn't say shock, but I did say that I said it on our show a bunch. I said Mason Marchment. It was basically Mason Marchment, Ilya Lyubushkin, Matt Dumba, and Jason Robertson came into it a little bit in terms of people that you thought could be potentially traded. But on the other side of that, I said, and I stand by this, that it's okay if they traded Marchment or they didn't re-sign Duchesne, but I didn't want them to get rid of Marchment in order to make room for Duchesne, which is exactly what they did. So the one thing I see is that, and I don't know what this team is going to look like, to be totally honest with you. I don't know if they're a contender right now. I think they took a step back and we don't really know their identity. But for me, they were a team that knew last year in the playoffs they got pushed around, right? They got bullied. Teams found a way to out physical them, and then also as soon as they shut down their one thing, their rush offense, the Stars had nothing. So for that team to be exposed like that by Edmonton basically 2 years in a row, they knew they needed to be more physical. Glenn Gulletson came in. He's talked about being more physical, being a little harder on the forecheck, all the right things. But then they traded one of their only guys that does that. So for them to re-sign Duchesne, I have no problem with. But the fact that it cost them Marchment, their one guy who we all know he plays a little too far over the line once in a while. He can dive a little bit. He can get in trouble with the officials. He can even slash officials in the shins once in a while. But the thing he did do is bring that level of physicality, bring that size. Duchesne and Sagan call him one of the best F1s on the forecheck in the game because he's just so quick to the puck and so physical and so good at forcing the play the other way into traffic. But like I said, the fact that they had to trade him in order to make room for Ben and Duchesne, who Ben we know is probably a bottom six kind of guy now who's declining in terms of numbers. Duchesne hasn't proven it in the playoffs in his whole career. I'm not saying he can't, but he hasn't. So it just doesn't feel like they took a step forward. And I'm a little nervous that their ideas are great and their plan is great in terms of physicality and changing the way they play, but their lineup doesn't have it. That's what I'm a little bit worried about going in.
Yeah, you brought back Radek Faksa, which, I mean, he added a little bit of grit and physicality for sure. What do you make of bringing him back? You lost Granlund, lost Dadonov as well, of course. But what do you make of bringing Faksa back?
Yeah, Fox was such a great player here. He one of the better penalty killers in the league. The only problem, and I like I said, I love bringing him back. He's a great guy. He's great in the room. This team loved him. They missed him. They miss his big body. Such a good face-off guy, penalty killer, all those good things. However, they brought another fourth liner in. You know, it's tough. I was just writing an article this morning about what their lineup's going to look like, and even before the Robertson conversations, God forbid they get rid of Jason Robertson, and then they really have nobody on the left wing. But they already are looking at guys like Steele or Ben or Oscar Beck to play second line, third line, left wing spots. That's not what you want as a team that's trying to contend for the Central Division and the Stanley Cup. So to have Faksa, it's a little bit confusing because unless they're planning on bringing Sam Steele up, who was mainly their fourth line center, and putting him up in an elevated role on a second line, you know, maybe with Duchesne and Sagan, which Glenn Gulletson said on our show he's something they're looking at, then it doesn't really make a lot of sense to just get more fourth line guys, right? It'd be one thing if they let Colin Blackwell go and they brought Faksa in. That's a pretty much a 1-for-1 kind of replacement, but they brought back both. So now all of a sudden you're looking at your lineup and you basically have 4 top 6 forwards on your team and then a whole bunch of fourth liners. So the big key for me going into the year is who can take the elevated role, because they have no money. It's not like they're going to go out there and get some top 6 forward right now. They don't have the money for it. So is it Maverick Bork that's going to be a top 6? Is Oscar Beck going to jump up and be a third line, not a fourth line? Is Sam Steele going to be able to play on that second line? He's a former first-round pick. He's got the skill. It's just a lot of questions that came with it. So I would say that's why I mentioned the taking a step back. It doesn't feel like this team said, we have a couple holes to fill, let's fill them. It kind of felt like they were like, let's just put together a roster any way we can and see what type of team we have under Glenn Goldson. And so I think December, January, February is going to be a really busy time down in Dallas, because I think they're going to have some spots that they're going to need to fill if they want to be a playoff contender again.
Sam, Maverick Bork was a player that I watched a lot of when he was here in the QMJHL. What do you think he really needs to develop this offseason going in to kind of elevate his game?
Yeah, one thing that he is not even on him, it's on the coaching staff, is he needs a chance. That Pete DeBoer was kind of notorious. Great coach. Obviously, we all know what he did, but he was kind of notorious for shutting out younger players once in a while. Nils Lundqvist went through it. Maverick Bork went through it. And it doesn't help the confidence of a player who's on that fringe level to sit out 10 games in a row. I mean, he played 3 playoff games in the entire run. That doesn't help your young guys. And he didn't really deserve that, I don't think. I don't think he was their 13th or 14th best forward to deserve getting scratched so often. But on the other side of it, I think just continuing what he did, I think it was January through like March, he was exactly what they wanted him to be. He was such a good player. I think he was playing on the bottom 6, but he was just doing the right things, going hard to the net, winning pucks in the corner, because he's not like all skill, right? He's a first round pick. He has the skill, so when he gets the chance, he can finish pucks. He can make passes in tight, but he's also that kind of two-way guy which made him so good at the AHL level and winning all the things that he did with Texas Stars is he can play both sides of the ice, but he also plays the right way. And something that Glenn Goldson is trying to instill here is playing the right way. He said in Edmonton, it wasn't necessarily that we took a turn when we implemented a new system. It was when the players decided we have to play this way. And we saw what Edmonton did this year. They look like a totally different team playing two-way hockey, right? So Dallas wants to play the way that Maverick Bork plays, which is why I think he is such a key to focus on this year, because he is one of those guys. I believe he's a top 6. I believe he's capable of a top 6, especially on this team where your top 6 doesn't need to be Mikko Rantanen's all over the place. They're not playing, the Edmonton Oilers high flying offense. They play more of a two-way game, and they like to roll their 4 lines. So for Maverick Bork, just keep doing what you're doing and take the chances you get. And I think same goes for Nils Lundqvist and a lot of other guys that are on that kind of fringe becoming full-time NHLers. The Stars coaching staff and management just has to give them a shot. Go let him play 40 games in a row. Let him go through bumps and bruises. He's going to make mistakes. Let him go through it and let him learn that it's not, one penalty doesn't lead to 5 games scratch as a healthy scratch in the press box. So I think it's a big year for him, and I really like him as a player, and he has a great head on his shoulders. I talked to him a lot last year because I saw him getting very frustrated and very just antsy. He wanted to get back out there, especially during the playoffs. He was working hard, and he was saying he's doing everything he could. But at the same time, he stayed on it, right? He was out there late every day. He was out there before every day. He's working on specific things. He's talking to coaches. I think he has the potential to be a real full-time player on this team. He just needs a shot.
Definitely. I think everyone needs a shot, especially those guys that are a little undersized and never really had a shot to begin with in the NHL. But I have one more for you, Sam, before we let you go. What's a game day like? Like what are the vibes like in Dallas? Because I'm not from Texas, never been there. So can you walk me through it? Kind of like what are the vibes like?
Yeah, for sure. I think the more I've learned going around traveling to games and stuff, it is one of the looser rooms in the league. I'm not sure. I'm sure that'll still be mostly the case under a new head coach, but the Stars were always really good, and maybe to their flaw once in a while at just forgetting things, right? I remember it was the April something, and the Stars were up 3 goals in like the last 2 minutes to Vancouver, and they allowed 3 goals in a row and lost in overtime. It was like I think it was like the worst collapse in NHL history or something crazy. And the next day, you would have thought, I mean, people are calling for Jamie Benn's head. The fans are furious. And you went to the practice, and it was like little kids out there. They were juggling the pucks to each other. They were joking around. Matt Dumba was pretending to fight Maverick Bourque. Like, it just never feels like there's be careful. I know, be careful on that. But it just never feels like anything's wrong. So when I go to the rink in the morning, it's just always a good time. And I know it helps a lot because Jake Ottinger is not the Henrik Lundqvist, Eddie Belfour type of goalies where they have to be silent. They can't have anyone around them. Jake sits here, and during the playoffs, he talks for 30 minutes to reporters over and over and over again. He's laughing, he's smiling. Mason Marchman's throwing tape at him during his interviews. It's a really loose room. And the one thing I said last year is I love it and I appreciate it because it helps. I mean, it's such a long season. This team has so much travel from down here with no teams anywhere near them. You have to stay loose or you're going to tire yourself out and burn out in March. But on the flip side, under Pete DeBoer, once in a while, I feel like they maybe had to take that step of we need the desperation. We can't just forget it and move on. And I don't know if Pete did that very well. So to me, it's about 99% good, 1% flaw, I'll say, for how loose it is. But it's a great time here. The people around the Stars, too, are incredible. I'm sure you guys have heard about Nil and his staff and the organization. Players love coming here because it really is, you just never feel out of place, right? You could be, first time I was here, 2021, I'm here as a guy who never worked an NHL game before. I'm dressed in all awkward colors of stuff because I didn't have any suits to wear, that day. I don't know where I'm going. And you just get people that pull you in and tell you where to go. Players that, you ask a question and they're open and make you not as nervous. So to answer your question, very loose, very happy here a lot. And I really appreciate that.
That seems like one of the better game day vibes in the league. I think.
My last one for you, Sam. We asked this to everybody. What is your favorite Stars jersey?
Oh, I like the blackouts, although they're not. I don't believe they're using them anymore. But I'll say the 2020 Winter Classic. That jersey. I wish they were able to make that. I know they wore it. I think they wore it 3 times during that next season, as most do after Winter Classic. But I wish they were able to do it more because I love the old school, the like brownish gold of the pants and the gloves, along with the cool big D in the middle. Just throwbacks to old school stuff like that. I like the victory green, but I very much miss, along with most people down here, the 2000s 99 type of jersey with the big logos on the front. I like the color victory green, but I think the logo is not as good as it used to be. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, for sure. Where can everyone find your work?
DLS Stars. I think it's all DLS.com is the website. My Twitter at Sam Nestler is where we'll post everything, but DLS Stars is where it's all at. You can see shows, articles. You can listen to my guy Craig Ludwig rip on the Stars defense all day long. It's a good time over here. So appreciate any support that we can get.
Awesome. You're the best, Sam. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. This was fun.
Take care. Colton, it's definitely been a great Friday. Someone forgot to throw the banner back up. I was just texting you about that. We're off track.
Anybody want to be our producer? Good Lord.
We can't pay you. That's the only thing. We'll be right back after a commercial break.
Looking for a new way to quench your thirst? Game Day Tarps is now an official Quench affiliate. Head on over to quench.ca/GameDayTarpsPodcast and use our code GameDayTarpsPodcast, all caps, all one word, for 15% off your total order. Stay cool this summer with the #1 sports drink on the market. Stay quenched.
Is the off-season bumming you out?
Yeah.
Do you wish you had more hockey content to consume?
Yeah.
Well, head on over to patreon.com/GameDayTarps and check out all the exclusive content we have to offer. Behind the scenes videos, in-depth analysis, and so much more. Select a membership tier and enjoy the content made only for you. Only at patreon.com/GameDayTarps.
Colton, you wanted to share something that a loyal listener of ours has brought to our attention. He did some great work with his blog. You wanna shout him out?
Yeah, so Randy Workman is an awesome listener, an awesome blogger. Randy's got some great stuff up on the Flames and about NHL news. He reached out to myself and to Daeden, and we speaking of Randy, there he is, and we offered some insight to him on tanking and why you shouldn't, why you shouldn't, right? So for everybody, go check this out. Go check out Randy's blog, theflamescratchpad.blogspot.com. Randy is an awesome guy. I can't say enough good things about him. But great little stuff that we did with him. I've done a few little things with him for his blog, and it's been fun. I love helping him out.
Yeah, it's definitely always great helping out someone that is willing to come listen, tune into our show. Randy's been here ever since the first or second episode of GDT Live, so we appreciate you, Randy, big time. Hopefully the Flames do well this season and you get to cover a fun season of Flames hockey. But Colton, on the other hand, there's a big piece of news to put out here for Monday's episode. It's going to be a different one, but do you want to let everyone know what's going on?
Yeah, so Monday's episode is going to be a little different. We're not having a guest on. We're not getting anybody from around the NHL on. Nobody on. We got a big week ahead, big week. So we figured, since we've got one of the biggest weeks in GDT's history coming up, why not bring on the founder? So Riley Harrison, the founder of Game Day Tarps, is going to be joining us, as well as the co-founder Dakota Parr and Dallas as well. So looking forward to that. Yeah, I know. You knew I was going to butcher it, so that's why I just went with first name.
Rogie Vachon's nephew.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say that. Rogie Vachon's nephew. So, so Dallas is going to join us as well. We're going to have all 5 guys from the podcast on, and it's going to be a great time. We're going to bullshit and talk. But yeah, big week ahead for us over here at GDT Live and over here at Game Day Tarps, and looking forward to Monday's episode with the fellas.
Definitely. I mean, it's a holiday. I'm fairly certain it's Natal Day here in Nova Scotia. I don't know what you guys celebrate out there on the West Coast.
I think it's not just BC Day.
BC Day? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Selfish. Anyways, we figured that since it was a holiday, it'd be a good time to get all the fellas on, all the guys on, and just talk some hockey. It's me and Colton all the time because Riley, Dakota, and Dallas, they're always working. But
Civilians.
They did say not to call them that once. Dak said he'd have your head on a stick if you called him that again. But there you go.
I'm sorry, but that's what you are. You are a civilian. It's not up to me. It's up to the chat. The chat makes the rules, not me.
Well, Colton, is there anything else you wanted to talk about on this lovely Friday before we kick off our weekend?
No, not really. Just take a look at our social media this weekend. We might be pumping out a little preview post for another special guest, 2 people in particular who are going to be coming on next week. So just keep an eye out for our socials this weekend. And have a great weekend, everybody. And we will see you back here on Monday.
Hold on. Before you do the outro, our YouTube channel, our year in review for the whole Game Day Tarps podcast coming out today. On the Patreon, I've got a day in the life coming out. You get to see what I do behind the scenes. Not anything special, but you get to see what I do when I'm not able to make the show. And Colton, we'll get some other stuff pumping. But now, hit us with the outro.
Okay, so join us back on Monday with the full crew from Game Day Tarps at 11 Pacific time, 2 o'clock Eastern, right here on GDT Live.
What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning into another video over here on the Game Day Tarps podcast and the Hockey Podcast Network. We've got so much more where this came from, so smash the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell, turn the notifications on so you never miss a beat. For myself and the rest of the guys over at Game Day Tarps, we thank you, and we'll see you next time.